Tightening up on this one. Got him.
Using a slip bobber is one of my favorite techniques for big catfish, especially in a place like this, a spillway where the catfish are built up downstream, feeding on prey fish. It's also really effective in snagging spots where you can't really use a bottom rig. Definitely you got to stay tuned to the end because I get into a real giant.
Another giant cat. Wow, look at this one. That's a huge one. Beauty. Look at the size of this thing. Huge. Off it goes. Cool. So what I'm using for these cats is a bobber rig. Big shark, saltwater type bobber. Have some weight to kind of take her down a bit here. I got a swivel to keep the weights from sliding down to the hook. Also, these things twist, catfish twist around a lot, so it's good to have a swivel on there, even though it makes it a little weaker. And then a circle hook, that's surprising. But the thing about catfish and bobbers is that when they're coming up from the bottom to grab something, they're going to open their mouth and just grab it. They're eating goldeye in here, and they're opening their mouth and just swallowing the whole thing. If you have an octopus hook, you might get them down deep, and you get a big catfish like that, really tough to open that mouth. Really strong jaws. I've tried it and it's super tough. Circle hook, you just let them take it, tighten up the line until you feel the weight, let them set the hook into the corner of their mouth, and then bring them in. I would say it's probably like 90%. You might lose a few off the hop where you try to set the hook where it just doesn't work. You gotta let them take it and run with the bit, get the weight on them, and then they set the hook on themselves. Now it's very important with the circle hooks to snell them. That way the pull on the hook is actually gonna drag it into the corner of their mouth. And I'm using some cut Cisco here for bait. Goldeye is kind of preferred in this area. That's what they're after, but Cisco's excellent. Caught 2 fish on this piece here. Hope that helps. Awesome fishing for big catfish.
This tail race is starting to run dry, so this fishing opportunity is about to come to an end. So I'm going to try to make some hay. I've caught a couple big females. I think there might be something really big in here with all the goldeyes that were stacked up in here the previous few days. So going to fish pretty hard here to see if we can get ourselves a real big one.
Another big monster cat. Waiting for the line to tighten up. And got him. Yeah. Got him. Wow. Wow. Whew. Another jumbo.
So I had a nice bite on my bobber. Bobber went down. Waited a few minutes. Nothing else happened. So I started to reel in. Then all of a sudden I had another nice hammered hit. I thought it might have been a pike or something like that the way it bit. Turned out to be this absolute giant catfish, a 1% catfish, or even less. Probably fewer than 1 out of every 100 get as big as this one. I've caught hundreds, maybe 1,000 catfish over my lifetime in the 15 and up range, and this is one of my biggest ones.
That is a monster. Holy jeez, that is a monster. That is a huge catfish. Wow. Easily probably the biggest. Thing's huge. Holy smokes. That is a big one. That's the biggest wow. I've ever caught. Look at the size of this thing. Holy Toledo. Wow. Monster. Wow. This cat. This is huge. It's a giant catfish. Wow. Wow.